Finally there's Sonic Drift, the first Sonic the Hedgehog racing game for the Game Gear. Obviously I'm not playing on a Game Gear, it's unlockable on Sonic Adventure DX Director's Cut on the GameCube, which is also the first time this game was available outside of Japan. Considering the game is entirely in English, it's kinda surprising the game didn't get localised. Although I think the reason is because this game came out at the time Sega America was mocking Super Mario Kart as being slow and boring in their advertising, and then releasing an even slower kart race with Sonic might not have looked good. They did localise the sequel though, so I don't know. There are 3 modes: Chaos GP, your usual Grand Prix mode, Free Run, your time trials, and Versus if you somehow con someone into playing this with you. 3 cups in GP based around Chaos Emeralds, green, yellow and red, 4 playable characters, Sonic, Eggman, Tails and Amy. I start with Sonic. Round 1 is Green Hill. There are 6 tracks in each cup, all based around 6 zones from the first Sonic the Hedgehog. Of course, being on the Game Gear and half the screen being taken up by a map on top of that, there isn't much they can do with the theming, so they just put a background on resembling the original zone. There are rings to pick up to increase top speed along with 2 kinds of computer monitors. One is a speed boost like picking up a mushroom in Mario Kart, and the other is invincibility. The invincibility jingle being a snippet of the song Sonic You Can Do Anything from the Japanese and European Sonic CD soundtrack. You may have also seen a spring at one point when Sonic did a spring jump in his car. There are only 2 buttons, accelerate and drift. By the second lap I'm already speeding ahead of the others. This is a very easy game and most of the races end up like this, with a massive gap between me and the rest. I drive by waving a little flag in the results and get awarded 3 points. Second place gets 2, third place gets 1, and last place gets nothing. Then there's Marble. This one's only a tiny bit more complex than the last, being an almost perfect square with a little dip in the top. Last thing I have to explain is that you can spin out from drifting too hard and also by hitting the objects off track. But that's all I have to say, that's all gameplay explained. Spring Yard once again is a tiny bit more complex. Side note, none of the tracks in this game have their music from the original game. Sega doesn't actually own that music, the composer does, and I doubt they want to spend the money licensing it on a budget game like this. There is some decent music in this game, even if they're very short loops, but they don't match the originals. As unremarkable as this game is, at least the Labyrinth track is more fun than playing Labyrinth Zone in the original game, not that it says much. This one I get done so quickly, I finish it in under a minute. Starlight at least manages to look nice, but that new music just can't live up to the real one. It also follows Starlight Zone's example in the original game, being more simple than the Labyrinth track. Despite that, I spin out a lot on the first 2 laps, but managed to overtake everyone before the end. I am not losing first place on Starlight of all zones. Finally, Scrap Brain. The only real challenge here is that one sharp turn 2/3 of the way through. Other than that, I dominate. I get the full 18 points and get first place before being sent back to the title screen. Time for Yellow Cup now. I picked Sonic under the misunderstanding I had to play as the same character through all 3 cups to get their endings. You just have to beat Red Cup with that character. Green Hill is even easier on this cup, being just a square. While there's nothing going on, people still complain about Sonic driving cars in kart races. I remember seeing a lot of this with the Riders and All-Stars racing games.
Sonic's faster than any car or other board, and why ain't he running?
Simple, because he's not entering a foot race. If Usain Bolt could outrun a Formula 1 car, he still wouldn't be allowed to enter a race on foot because it's a car race. Same with Riders, he's specifically entering a hoverboard racing tournament. Riding a hoverboard is in the rules. Admittedly, it is stupid for Jet the Hawk to claim to be the fastest thing alive because he could beat Sonic in a race with vehicles that are slower than Sonic is, but Jet is a garbage character anyway, so who cares? Marble is so easy on this cup I managed to get a lap in 15 seconds. That's all there is to say about this track. Spring Yard is another one where I spin out at the beginning and get overtaken by everyone only to become invincible and take my place back right away, not seeing the others again until I spin out too much around lap 3. I actually only come second this time, so there's a bit of challenge here now. That's why I get a massive lead in Labyrinth, so when I do spin out on the big turn in the middle, it doesn't matter. Starlight is shaped like a fish / pacifier / butt plug in this cup, choose whichever you prefer. Once again I get so far ahead because of all the power-ups around that spinning out doesn't affect me. Scrap Brain is shaped like a boot, that is all, and I come in first place again. So much for that challenge I mentioned. While I do a Red Cup run as Sonic, I also do one as the other 3 characters, so let's focus on those. Let's go with Eggman for the first 2 tracks. Eggman's allowed to drive his Eggmobile in these races. I guess it counts as a car, although it makes you wonder why he slows down off track when he's supposed to hover over it. Unless they made him put tiny wheels on the bottom and he is on the ground. This is actually the first time Eggman has ever been playable. Between Eggman, Bowser and Dr. Cortex, it seems quite common for the first time a villain is playable to be in a kart racing spin-off. At the beginning of Marble, I have all 3 of us turbo through me at the beginning. I didn't know that was a thing. Still doesn't make a difference, and I finish before second place even gets halfway through their last lap. Let's swap to Tails for the next 2. There's nothing remarkable to point out about Tails' appearance in this game. If you can only have 4 characters playable in a Sonic game in early 1994, Tails is the most obvious one to add. Red Cup Spring Yard is also nothing special, even in the context of this game. I come really close to lapping 4th place though, I was so good when I didn't. Labyrinth looks a bit like the Ace of Spades if you turn your head a little, that's all. Now to Amy Rose for the last 2. This is also the first time Amy was playable. It was also only her second appearance in the game ever. Some people may be wondering why not Knuckles, but Knuckles' debut in Sonic 3 was only a month before this game's release. They couldn't have known back then that Knuckles would gain such a huge following. Hell, it's possible the roster was decided before Knuckles was created, we don't know. He's in the next one though. Yeah, this was back when Amy's design was simply a pink Sonic in a dress. It's alright, but I say a redesign from Sonic Adventure onward is an improvement because it gives her more of her own identity. As the final track, Red Cup Scrap Brain is the longest, but it's still not very hard. The only slightly challenging thing is 2 quick turns near the beginning. Once again, I get so close to lapping 4th place before I win. That's all the tracks and I got 1st place as all 4 characters. Completing Red Cup in 1st place gives you an ending for each character. Sonic drives towards the screen and gives a thumbs up as the credits roll. That's the worst one. Eggman's is the best. He laughs his ass off over his victory and taunts Sonic. Sonic's a sore loser for when chases after him, presumably to kick his head in. Tails' ending is a little better than Sonic's, but not by much. He gets out of his car, we see some copy-pasted Sonic 2 sprites, and he jumps in the air. Amy's is better than Tails, but not as good as Eggman's. Amy celebrates, stares all starry-eyed at Sonic, and comes onto him while Sonic just looks slightly irritated. That's everything. Sonic Drift is not a very interesting game, or a very challenging one. Before coming into it, I thought it was going to be another game ranked below Millionaire, but playing it again, I managed to have a little bit of fun when I was going fast and getting turns right, but there just needs to be more to it. Definitely one of the weaker Sonic games, even among the Game Gear ones. But this time playing it did just edge it above Millionaire, so it can at least have that.